Hello, welcome to Skye Sweaty Record Review, episode 55. It's the only new music review show hosted by a French professor immediately after getting off the elliptical. Now, this whole show is about new music, and at the beginning of the year, there's not a lot out there. I heard this band called The Lost Kings, and they're this sort of like pop group, kind of generic, and I was going to review them, but I don't like to review things I know I'm not going to like. So I just by chance scanned down and saw related artists. And there I saw the Chainsmokers. And then I remembered that the algorithm screwed me over somehow. I don't know how. But I am interested in the Chainsmokers. I like talking about them. And somehow I missed that they released an album 2 weeks ago. So that's what I'm going to be reviewing today. The Chainsmokers. The one band that my kids cannot understand at all why I like. Now, I'm going to a Panic at the Disco concert later. You know I like 21 Pilots. I'm okay with Imagine Dragons. I don't know why, but my kids find them terrible. And moreover, most people I talk to find the Chainsmokers to be astoundingly unlikable. Maybe it's their name. Who likes thinking about chain smoking? It's gross. It's deadly. Gives you this image of just sort of like lame-os, like pretending that they're cool, smoking into the night. The way they look, their appearance. I mean, they look like more douchey versions of the Winklevoss twins. You know, those guys from the Facebook movie? Like, you know, they've got the coiffed hair and the trimmed beard and the $80 t-shirts. It's like, and there's two of them, you know? Like, who are these guys? They suck so bad. I don't want to like them at all. Does anybody like them? Does anybody love them? Is there like a chain-smoking crew, like a fanatical fan base? I don't think so. But they sell a lot of albums, or they sell a lot of streams, or whatever it is we call it. And I actually think that the Chainsmokers deserve a lot more credit than they get. They are way better than they look, and they are way better than their name would indicate. That's right, sweatheads. It is time for yet another Professor Payne pretentious preface. Now, I'm a French professor, and part of the joy of being a French professor is I get to explain French film theory to my students. One of the things that the French do that we don't do in America is they put an emphasis on the director. And in the late 1950s, early 1960s, a lot of guys were writing for this magazine called Cahiers du Cinéma, and they developed something called the Auteur Theory, which means the author theory. The idea is that, you know, a movie's got hundreds and thousands of people who work on it. But certain directors have an artistic vision, and you can recognize their work through the technological apparatus of the cinema, through all the actors and the lighting and all that. The best example is in this great book, Hitchcock by Truffaut, where Francois Truffaut, one of the developers of this theory, talks about Hitchcock, who's one of the greatest examples of an auteur. So what does that have to do with the Chainsmokers? I would argue that the Chainsmokers are pop auteurs. By that I mean this. If you read their credits, it's their name. They produce or co-produce, but mostly produce alone, most of their songs. So that means they're in there in the studio. There's not some weird guy in Sweden making their music for them. They make it. They actually have a fairly trademark sound. If you put most pop songs and then a Chainsmokers song, you can tell. Now, I'll give you an idea of what that sound is in case you don't know them, because you hear Chainsmokers and like the Nickelback effect, you know, you just hear their name and just, no good. So in a lot of ways, they're a very typical pop group in the way that they use fairly simple melodies, mostly rising melodies, you know, dun, 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 okay? They repeat each chorus like 1,000 times so that by the end of the song, you know, repeat stuff, like you have it stuck in your head and you end up liking it. They almost always have what I love about them, which is what I call the wah, wah, wah breakdown. That's spelled W-A-N-H, breakdown. Which is like the pop bits go along, and then there's like, and there's some kind of weird futuristic sound. It's kind of like dubstep, you know, like where things cut out and they're waka, 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 waka. And there's a little bit of that on this album. But it's more like some fascinating, catchy, futuristic, far out, like left field sound comes in and interrupts your normal pop song. Usually there's some kind of strange vocalizing effect on that as well. Another thing about the Chainsmokers is I know what they sound like. I know what their voices sound like. You know, you sitting there and who are saying, Skye, you're crazy. The Chainsmokers cannot be auteurs. By that, I mean they can't be real artists making personalized vision. They just make pop garbage. But I know what they sound like. I know their voices. I don't know what Max Martin sounds like. I loved his album, but I don't know what Benny Blanco sounds like. I don't know what these super producers sound like. But I know what the Chainsmokers sound like. They sing on almost all their songs. They have this sort of, I call it sort of like a sensitive confidence. They sing like they're from Sweden. I think they're from LA or something. But like they sing with this kind of weird affected accent, which I don't really know why. But still, there's always the sensitivity and a confidence. And I would say that their music isn't happy pop, right? Which is actually a brand of French popcorn, by the way. Happy pop. Anyways. It's not happy pop. It's very down. I mean, their themes are, I call them jet setting and doubt. That's what they sing about. They sing about jet setting. You know, the last album had I'm in Paris. This one talks about being in Tokyo. And they've got all the money, and they got all the cars, and they got all the women. And it's not really depression all the time. It's more doubt. It's more questioning their existence. I'll get into that more later. They usually have a simple chorus. They almost always have some kind of acoustic element, like there's bass or there's a guitar or there's real drums added in. And then the worst part of the Chainsmokers, the worst part of all pop music now, is way too many whoas. So, okay, that part I can hate. Enough of that. So, let me break down this album, not really song by song, but close to it. It starts off with a song called This Feeling, which is one of these amazing, geniusly catchy songs, you know. They say, think with your mind and not the thing inside your chest. They sing like 30 times. It's got some forgettable female singer, but it's really well made. The chorus is nice. The kind of breakdown is very subtle. It's a solid, excellent pop song. They followed up with Beach House, which is, I would say, the most personal song. It's just this guy singing about basically being in love. It's basically a love song for a woman who he doesn't appear to know that well. And by the end of the song, it's clear that it's not going to end well. And it has a great breakdown. It's kind of this new thing of kind of like trap music, you know, like heavy bass and ricky-ticky hi-hats, but mixed in a little bit of that kind of like dubstep, like whoa sound. So Beach House is great. That's maybe the best track on the album. The next song is called Hope, and this has got this amazing thing where they have this female singer, and the pre-chorus is her singing, but it's her alone. Everything else is cut out, and it's just her voice. It has this kind of echo thing, and they lower her voice at the same time. It's very ominous. The theme of that song is that sometimes hope feels like love, but that's a trick. That's a trap. So, okay. You tell me that's garbage. You write in your comments, say, Skye, you're crazy. You're crazy. This is bad music. But I think writing about the way that hope can be confused as love is amazingly profound. It's true. It's sad. It's telling. And it's in the middle of this song, which would be easy to dismiss because it's by the Winklevoss twins, okay? It's kind of a bland middle, a couple of forgettable songs in the middle. And then there's these two songs, which are great, hyper zeitgeist, you know. If you really want to know what's happening in a culture, study popular culture, okay? Don't study the deep stuff. Don't study the great artists who are making these great statements. You know, if you really want to know what a culture's feeling, study horror movies. You know, don't study whatever's going to win the Oscar or whatever's going to win the New York Film Critics Review. And in that way, there's these two songs that are great examples of absolute modern malaise. I'm using a lot of French today. Modern sadness, modern ennui. There's a song, Sick Boy, which is sort of like this, a bit pretentious attempt at being like, you know, this is America, you know. This is what we're really about. Welcome to the narcissism. We are united in our indifference. And it's easy to make fun of, but I think it's well said. And, you know, we need to be saying these things more. We need to actually reflect our life more. It's a reality of our life. You know, when he says, how many likes is my life worth? Okay, that's cheesy and that's dumb, but that's a real reflection of what our life is right now. I often think about, like old songs from like the 20s and 30s, which now seem so quaint, like Send Me Your Love by Wire. Like these technological developments are always reflected in popular music. Or Missy Elliott with her great track, Page Me 911. So the next part of the sort of diptych of modern ennui is the song Everybody Hates Me. And this gets my stamp. I love the song Everybody Hates Me. It's the song where that confidence I was talking about, that sort of like sad, sensitive confidence. He's singing about how he knows that everybody hates him. He says he walks into the club like everybody hates him. It's got these kind of Kanye style, lyrics I've been talking about, boo, I have all this money and I'm so rich and I'm so sad. But he directly references it. He says he's not trying to say, boo-hoo, I made it. But yet what's clear constantly in this album is the emptiness at the heart of material success. And so, hey, I reviewed Eric Taxon last week, who's an 18-year-old socialist, apparently, according to my comments. But I think this music might actually be a better indicator of the end of capitalism. Because this is supposed to be pop music. This is music about doing drugs and driving around and partying and all that stuff. But at the heart of it is this insane sadness and loneliness. And it's being called directly for what it is. Perhaps if the American dream of excess and wealth is shown to be a nightmare, or at least a depressing place, a sad place, maybe we'll move towards more socially minded thinking. We'll move away from this excess. I don't know. I'm just hoping. Another great song, Siren, it's a song about driving around, being on pills, and talking about the dichotomy that the singer feels, where he says he loves silence, but he prefers the sound of the sirens. And then the song does something interesting. I can't tell if it's brilliant or preposterous. You tell me. You tell me, Chainsmoker fans who are watching this, if you exist. It's this song about silence and sirens, woo, woo, woo. And it's got this dubstep breakdown that's just so like, it's the most dubstep, bro step, just huge, loud. It's incongruous. It doesn't quite fit with the rest. And then it ends with this like beautiful string, maybe a quartet, quintet, some kind of orchestral string thing. So the form of the song actually echoes the content of the lyrics, which shows this dichotomy, which leads me to think it's brilliant. Way to go, Chainsmokers. The song ends with a couple okay songs, not great. A song called You Owe Me, which is basically just an emo song. It's almost like a 21 Pilots outtake. Although I like 21 Pilots way more than I like these guys. And so there it is. There's the Chainsmokers. That's my argument. That they are auteurs of pop. They are artists. They are actually making things, and they do actually have a vision. And if you can get past their douchey hair and their chiseled physiques and strong jawlines, if you can get past the way they dress, if you can get past their name, if you can get past everything on the outside that blocks you from believing these people are artists, you might discover that they are. Okay. Pop Week continues on Skye Sweaty Record Review, as I am going to be reviewing the Panic at the Disco concert. So, boy, I hope I like it, because if I don't, it'll be a long concert. All right. Until next time, there's the camera.